Look at this chart. $500 a month. A simple, broad U.S. investment fund, an average return of around 10% a year before inflation. After 30 years, it turns into more than $1 million. And the chart is real. The math behind it is not a trick. Adjust for inflation, and the number is lower. But the lesson holds. The longer you stay invested, the more the curve does the work for you. So here's the strange part. Almost nobody actually ends up on that curve. Not because the math is wrong, because most people quietly reset the clock before the money ever starts to explode. That reset is one of the most expensive things you can do with your money, and you won't even feel yourself doing it. So let's talk about the quiet mistake hiding inside the most famous chart in investing. Let's be honest about why that chart is so seductive. It tells the truth. Compound interest isn't a scam. It's not marketing. It's just math. You invest, it earns a return. Then that return earns its own return year after year. In the beginning, it feels almost insulting. You put in $10,000, and the first year you make about $1,000. But under the surface, the engine is changing gears. Soon the money grows faster than you could ever add yourself. And here's the part almost nobody feels in time. In a long enough journey, the final decade can create more wealth than everything that came before. That 10% is a long-run average, not a promise. Some years it soars, some years it bleeds, but stay invested for decades, and that average builds the chart. So if the math is this good, why does almost nobody finish the journey? Because that beautiful curve hides one quiet assumption. It assumes you never touch it. It assumes that for 30 straight years, you invest every single month, through every crash, every scary headline, and you never once stop. No real life looks like that. A real investing journey isn't a smooth line. It's a line with tiny breaks in it. A pause here, a withdrawal there. Each break feels small, harmless, responsible even. That's exactly why it's so dangerous. Those tiny breaks have a name. Let's call it the reset. A reset is any moment you interrupt the compounding, you sell in a panic, you stop your monthly investment, you pull money out, and every time you do it, you send the clock back towards zero. The years your money still needs to reach the steep part of the curve. Here's what most people get wrong. They think the danger is the crash. The crash isn't the danger. Your reaction to it is. And that reaction isn't a character flaw. It's wiring. The moment the math needs you to do nothing is the moment your body wants to run. And the most dangerous reset of all isn't even triggered by a crash. It's something much quieter. Picture this. From 2000 to 2009, you invest in the broad U.S. market and you do everything right. Every month. No matter what. 10 years later, you open your account. And even counting dividends, you have less than you started with. That really happened. Over that decade, the S&P 500 returned about negative 0.9% a year, dividends included. 10 full years of discipline ending in the red. People remember the 2008 crash because it was loud and violent, but a crash gives you a clear enemy. The long, flat, silent stretch is worse because nothing dramatic happens. You just slowly stop believing. A decade of nothing convinces you the whole thing is broken, that it just doesn't work for someone like you. And that belief is what makes you hit reset, usually right before the market does this. In the 10 years that followed, that same market returned around 13% a year. The people who quit in 2010 missed all of it. The people who did nothing caught all of it. Same market, same chart. The only difference was who reset the clock and who left it running. So the real question was never which fund to buy. The real question is this: can you do nothing while your money does nothing, sometimes for years? Let's put a real number on a single reset. Say you start investing $500 a month at 25. You leave it completely alone until you're 60. At that 10% average, you'd end up with around $1.9 million. Now take the same plan, but you wait 5 years and start at 30 instead of 25. You'd end up with around $1.1 million. 5 years of waiting. Around $770,000 gone. The person who started earlier put in only about $30,000 more out of their own pocket. That gap isn't their contributions. It's the steep part of the curve they let run, and you didn't. And that's just from waiting. Watch what happens when you actually flinch. Look at the last 20 years in the U.S. market. Stay fully invested the whole way, and you earned the market's full return. But miss just the 10 best days in that whole stretch, and your final result can get cut by more than half. Here's what should change how you see every crash. The best days don't wait for calm markets. Many of them happen right next to the worst ones. So the panic that makes you sell at the bottom is the exact thing that makes you miss the bounce. You can't run from one without losing the other. A single reset can cost you more than a lifetime of optimizing. You can pick the perfect fund and shave every fee, and one panic exit quietly undoes all of it. So the goal was never to be smarter than the market. It's to never reset the clock. And you don't do it with willpower. It runs out exactly when you need it most. You build a system that runs when you don't feel like it. 5 simple rules. 1. Automate the investment. Same amount, same day, every month on its own. When the market drops, you don't have to be brave. The transfer already happened on a decision you made once on a calm day. 2. Keep your life money separate from your investment money. This one sounds boring. It might be the most important rule here. Because a lot of people don't reset because they're bad investors. They reset because they invested money they were going to need. The car breaks down, the rent jumps, a job disappears, and suddenly the investment account becomes the emergency fund. You sell at the worst possible time, not because you panicked, but because life sent a bill. Your investment money should be money you don't need for years. Next month's money stays in cash, because the market is powerful over decades but brutal over months. Mix the two, and you force a 30-year decision under 30-day pressure. That's how resets happen. 3. Never stop your plan because of a crash. A falling market isn't your plan failing. It's your plan buying the same thing at a lower price. So decide your rules before the crash, not during it. When the market is calm, everyone feels rational. Then it falls 30%, the headlines turn apocalyptic, and that same person wants out. But clarity almost always shows up after prices have already recovered. So write your rules while you're calm. 4. Grow what goes in, not what you chase. This is where a lot of beginners quietly reset. They understand compounding, but they get impatient. So they start chasing hot stocks, options, crypto. Often it isn't even greed, just impatience. But every time you jump strategies, you restart the discipline, the emotional test, the clock. So stop trying to make the curve faster. Raise the amount you put in instead. That's the part you control. Adding just $150 a month can grow into almost $200,000 over 25 years. Not by taking more risk, just by earning and keeping more. 5. Judge your plan in decades, not days. A portfolio can look broken for a year, sometimes several. That doesn't mean the plan is broken. It means you're in the part of the chart that doesn't look like anything yet. You don't get rewarded every month. Most of the time, nothing happens. Then one day, the numbers start moving in a way your contributions never could, because you stayed long enough for the curve to wake up. That's the real skill, not picking the perfect fund. Becoming the kind of person who can stay with a simple plan long enough for the math to matter. So let's go back to that chart. The one that turns $500 a month into more than $1 million. It was never fake. Every dollar of it is real. The problem is that most people don't live on that curve. They keep stepping off it. They sell when things feel scary. They pause when life gets heavy. They start over with a new strategy every time the old one feels too slow, and every time the clock resets. Most people aren't bad at investing. They're bad at staying invested. Compound interest doesn't reward the smartest person in the room. It rewards the one who refuses to reset the clock. Most people don't fail because they chose the wrong road. They fail because every time the road gets uncomfortable, they start the journey over. So don't start over. Just keep driving. Before you go, be honest in the comments. Have you ever hit reset, sold, paused, or stopped investing during a rough patch? If you want money to feel like a clear map instead of a confusing mess, subscribe to the Money Roadmap. And if you don't know what to invest in yet, watch this next. I broke down index funds from zero. That's where this whole plan begins. I'll see you there.